afternoon, good day, good morning to you wherever you are in the world as you listen to this thought. This is my thought for you today. It's been about 4 days or more since I feel the Lord has placed this thought on my heart to share with you. And
It's
I
been
hope,
about 4 days
and
or
I
more
hope,
since
and I hope, I hope as you hear this thought that it will be a source of encouragement and strength and inspiration to you. And the Lord knows when to speak to us and how, when we are at our breaking points, when we are at a time of confusion and perplexity, that He knows just when and how to come through for us. So here's my thought for you today. The question is three questions. Do you feel like a conqueror? Do you feel like more than a conqueror? Or do you feel conquered? That's a question that you need to answer. Do you feel like a conqueror, more than a conqueror, or conquered? And you might ask, what's the difference in being a conqueror or more than a conqueror? A conqueror is one who wins a war or overcomes adversary. You may have been battered and bruised and wounded as you fight through your struggles and your battles, but at the end of it, you win. You won your battle. So you're a conqueror. You have conquered. More than a conqueror is something else. The Apostle Paul tells us in Romans 8 that in spite of tribulations and distress and persecution and nakedness and peril and sword, he said, in all of this, we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. That term more than conquerors is an interesting thought because more than conqueror is greater than being a conqueror. More than conqueror suggests that you have won and you have won your battle big time. In other words, the devil may have underestimated your resolve and your skills and your battle hardness to fight. And so when you win that battle against the adversary, you win it big time. We call that in sports term a blowout. That's what the Apostle Paul said. In spite of everything that we go through, we are more than conquerors through him who loves us, more than conquerors. Because the devil may not recognize that or understand who is fighting with you and who is fighting for you. And so when he fights with you and for you, you're going to win and you're going to win big. Now, oftentimes we might feel like we are conquered, and especially how things are going these days in our lives and around us, sometimes we feel like we're conquered. In simple term, it means to be overcome by force. Sometimes we get knocked down, but we are not knocked out, but we feel like we are conquered. If you feel conquered, like you have been overwhelmed by the barrage of the attacks the devil throws at you, and the blows are coming from left, right, and center. And I don't know what you're experiencing where you are, but I know in general, blows sometimes come from left, right, and center. Right? The enemy is coming with all that he has, and sometimes we are overwhelmed, and sometimes we feel emotionally and mentally beaten down and defeated. But I want to tell you, my friends, that even if you feel like you're knocked down, like you have been conquered, you're still not alone. All right? You're still not alone. If you have a pulse, if you still have a pulse, the Lord will come through for you. And the fact that you hear this thought today, the fact that you can hear this thought, tells me that it is not over. In Psalm 18:6, the psalmist cries out, in my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even to his ears. You may feel conquered or helpless, but let the weak say that I am strong. Because God's strength is made perfect when you are weak. In other words, God is at his best when you are at your worst. I like that thought. God is at his best when you are at your worst. Why? Because when we are at our worst, that's when our dependency on God rises to another level. When we are at our worst, that's when we know we can't pull ourselves through. When we are at our worst, we become more desperate. And so we can appreciate what God does for us when we are at our worst. So, my friends, you can still rise. Even if you're down on your face right now, as long as you have a pulse, as long as you can still say something in your voice, in your spirit, it doesn't have to be audible, but if you can echo something in your spirit, in your distress, in your down moments, in your moments when you feel you're in despair and that you have been conquered, you may have been beaten down, but you have not lost. If you cry, he'll come. He's a present help in the time of trouble. So my question is in this thought today, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're a conqueror? That you have just pulled your way through over the plans of the enemy? You may have been bruised and beaten up, but you made it through. Barely win. You know, in the old term, they say, we just pull it through by the skin of our teeth. You still have won if you just pull through by the skin of your teeth. But more than conqueror, you have just beaten the life and success out of the devil and rip yourself out of his arms. And now you're rejoicing because you're more than conquerors through Christ who loves you. But if you feel like you are conquered or have been conquered, it's not over. If you can cry, if you can call, if you can muster something up in your spirit, the Lord will still hear you. You're not defeated, even if you feel conquered, because the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. And if you just stand still and watch him fight, you will see your victory, because you are more than conquerors through him who loves you, not by your own strength, but by his strength. I hope you feel the strength of God's power in your weakest moments. It's my thought for you today. May the Lord guide your feet and hold your hand as you travel through your valley of the darkness of the shadow of death. Don't fear. You're more than conquerors to him who loves you. God bless you. Have a great day. That's my thought for you today.